you guys, we're happy to welcome Chase Burnfin here today. He's going to talk about his career as an accountant. He's a GSW graduate, and so welcome, Chase.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. So my name is Chase Burnfin, CPA, and I'll talk a little bit about me, and here's some other things we're going to talk about. CPA firm, career progression, staff member expectations, interview tips, pros and cons of the MAC, which is a Master's of Accounting. The typical daily experience as a CPA or working in public accounting, internal auditing, small versus large firm, and work paper examples. So, yeah, that's me. Trying to be cool. So my name is Chase Burnfin. I'm from Lee County. Graduated from Lee County High School in 2011. 26, if you don't want to do math. Came to GSW to play baseball, and I played for 2 years, and we were not very good, and it was not very fun. So I think the 2 years I was here, we had like 15 wins and 30 losses, basically, for both years. And I was a pitcher, and it was a lot of work to wake up early, and not really be able to contribute as much as we want to. So anyway, I made the decision to quit baseball and focus on school. Started studying harder, and I declared accounting as my major. I had Professor Robinson and Dr. Bishop and more there, and I think a lot of y'all have had more there. So after I graduated, I went to Kennesaw State University for my Master's of Accounting. It was a one-year program. I'll talk a little bit about that and the pros and cons, but it's a one-year program to get basically the requirements you need for the CPA exam. So since then, I graduated from Kennesaw in 2016. Then I moved to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for about 2 years, 2 or 3 years. And I did internal auditing up there at a firm called Schneider Downs. Schneider Downs is a larger firm. They have 2 big offices. Well, technically they have 3 now, but one of them is kind of like a satellite office. But they had 2 big offices. One of them was in Pittsburgh, and the other one was in Columbus, Ohio. What I did there was mostly internal audit, which is a little different than regular audit or tax. It's more of like a consulting type of thing. But yeah, and then last year in June, I moved back home to Leesburg and started at a firm called Hutchins, Clinty, Rums, and Huckabee, or HCRH for short. And I do mostly audits and bank audits and internal audits of banks. I've done a little bit of taxes. Dr. Bishop wanted me to say I've already done like 10 tax returns this year, maybe. So it's not very heavy on the tax for me. But the guy that sits right next to me does tax all day. So, all right. And if y'all have any questions or anything, just shout them out, raise your hand, whatever, do my attention. So the career progression at a CPA firm, this was kind of how it was at Schneider Downs, which was the one up there in Pittsburgh. There's staff level, you come in as an intern, basically, or as a staff. So internships usually were over the summer, and you could, basically, they would like hire staff out for the next year. But I kind of got lucky in that I was moving up to Pittsburgh for personal reasons, so I knew I was coming, and I contacted them whenever I was still at Kennesaw, just letting them know. And whenever I was up there for a weekend, I interviewed, and they fit me in. I think I started in September as a staff. So anyway, so the staff, and then from there I went to in charge, and Schneider Downs recently changed it to where instead of in charge, there's now just a senior. So there's staff and senior, and then senior 2. And I've talked to somebody that works at Malden Jenkins, which Malden Jenkins is in Albany, and they have staff 1, and then senior. So it's not really a big deal, it's just the way that things change. But basically, the firm I was at, it would be basically 2 years at every level. So in 2 years, you get promoted, as long as you don't mess up. Nobody really messes up, because it's not bad.
Well, one way you can mess up is not pass the CPA exam.
Yeah.
Usually, you
and
don't.
At Schneider Downs, you couldn't get promoted to manager unless you had your CPA. or some other certification. So we worked with IT auditors a lot, and the IT auditors had to have some kind of certification that was relevant for them. At Marvin Jenkins, I was talking to my coworker this morning, and he said that you couldn't be promoted to senior unless you had your CPA exam. And really, that's kind of huge because you could stay there for 5 years and be basically running everything. But if you don't have your CPA exam, you're not getting paid like a senior or somebody that has all the responsibilities that I'm sure you've accumulated after so many years. And then you can see manager, senior manager, director, partner, shareholder. Really no difference between those two. Partner and shareholder, it's just how the company is set up, I guess. And not everybody makes it to director, but sometimes they just get from senior manager to shareholder. But it's not really big deal. Alright. So the intern expectations, basically just do your best. I mean, there's really no expectations whenever you're coming in. If you're lucky, you'll have a job where you had all the work papers from last year, and you can kind of see where these numbers tied from, and what reports to give, what reports to obtain, and you can tie in the numbers pretty easily. But really, nobody has expectations that are like, they're not going to ask you any complex accounting, rules or anything like that. As long as you can basically follow instructions and go from some work papers. Now, this isn't public accounting. I'm sure like working at a hospital or some kind of other accounting environment, it's different. But this has been my experience with public accounting. Does anybody know the difference between public and like industry accounting? Public is like you're working for a firm like Shire Downs or Hutchins Cutting Grove to Huckabee, where we do audits on other people, or internal audits on other people, or we do taxes for other people. So industry, like if you're working for Habitat for Humanity as an accountant, like you would be helping them prepare. I assume you'd be helping them prepare their own accounting books and stuff. So it's like you're the controller or your CFO, you're putting together your own books. But if you're in the public accounting role, you're coming in to look at their stuff. So yeah, Dr. Bishop said this was something maybe to touch on with interview tips. So whenever I started here in accounting, I was like, I really need an internship, and I don't know, I just was looking around, and I basically called every accounting practice in Leesburg, in Albany, and Americus. I was like, are you looking for an internship? Like, I would come, I'll work for basically nothing. And eventually, I went into Chandler Shepherd Rowan and Associates, and I talked to one of the partners there, and was like, I'll work for whatever you want to pay me. I just really want to have some kind of experience that I can put on my resume whenever I'm applying to grad school. And so I started working there, basically at minimum wage, which is pretty low. It's something that I really wanted to do, an experience I really wanted to have. But basically, whenever I went to it, I was just confident. I had confidence. It was like, I'm taking accounting classes. Would love to help out. I'll come in and do whatever you need to. I'll scan stuff. I'll input numbers, whatever I can do to help. So I think that helps. Whenever I was interviewing at Shire Downs, at the time I was in grad school, and I had some of my coworkers, some of my fellow students, did like a mock interview, and some of the big four accounting firms, so like PwC,
Ernst & Young,
EY, KPMG, and Deloitte. So those are the big four firms, but they will have kind of like behavioral questions. So I think you can look up pretty much on Indeed or whatever the Glassdoor. You can look up on Glassdoor like what kind of interview to expect. And as I was interviewing with some of the big four firms, I had my other students help me like practice so that I could be a little bit more comfortable interviewing with those places.
what kind of questions?
Behavioral type questions where I can't remember now what the format is, but they expect you to have it would say, what do you do in this circumstance? And they want you to lay out the situation, and then there's an acronym for it. You get on the situation, how you reacted, and then what the end result was, and they kind of lay it out like what they're expecting.
For instance, when was a time when somebody made you mad? Or...
Right, yeah, I mean, just how you faced adversity and how did you handle it or something like that, you know, your typical behavioral questions. But whenever I interviewed at Schneider Downs, it was not like that at all. So I went in and I sat down with a shareholder, and he was super nice, very personable. Me and him in a conference room, we sat in chairs just like these, and we just talked. And I was telling some people before that I scouted cotton whenever I was here at GSW, and that was like all I wanted to talk about was, what does it mean to scout cotton? I mean, what did you do? So did you pick cotton? I mean, you're a farmer. I mean, it's just those kind of things that, and like Dr. Bishop was saying, he wanted to talk about baseball. Did you like baseball? What did you do? I bet it's hard waking up that early, blah, blah, blah. So really it's about talking to people, because at least this is how these interviews went. And this is how the interviews at Big Four firms go whenever you make it past the initial behavioral stage, because they have multiple interview processes. But at Schneider Downs, you're going to interact with clients a lot more than you expect. And so they want to know that you have the personality, you're not hard to get along with, you're not super shy or super quiet or I don't know, things like that. They want to make sure that they can stand being cooped up with you in a conference room for hours on end, because that's kind of what we do. And then Hutchins coming over to Huckabee, that interview when I came down, sat in a conference room, and met with two of the partners, and they kind of just ran down my resume, which is really what we did at Schneider Downs. But along the way, we get distracted and just talk. It would kind of divert itself into talking about different things, just to make sure that you were a personable person, you had a good personality, and you wouldn't be a pain in the neck, basically. Dress the part. If I was going in for an interview, I would be wearing a suit, a nice tie, and I would shave, get a haircut. I mean, you want to look nice, basically. Yeah, and depending on the job, I have a plan for the CPA exam. So at Hutchins, coming over to Huckabee, I already had my CPA. At Schneider Downs, they wanted to know how far along I was in the process. Whenever I was in grad school, I started studying for the CPA, and I had already taken 3 parts before I moved. Or I took 2 parts and passed them, and then took the 3rd part right whenever I started. So I only have 1 more part to go, basically. And that was something that in public accounting they kind of wanted to know, because like we were talking about earlier, you can only get promoted so far without having some kind of certification. So the Master's of Accounting degree, like I said, I went to Kennesaw State. The con, definitely the cost. That was definitely the biggest drawback for me. It was basically, I don't want to say specific numbers, but it was basically like 3 times the cost of all 4 of my years here. Because whenever I was here, I was on Hope and I had my grades up. Whenever I was there, I don't know if it's changed or anything like that, but Hope didn't cover grad school. So basically all that was going to come out of the loan. I did get a graduate research assistantship, so basically I helped professors with their research. And Dr. Bishop will tell you that a lot of what they do as professors is research. And Kennesaw State has some of the most revered accounting researchers in the country. Luckily, I didn't have to do too much. I just got a stipend and tuition reduction. So those are that's definitely the biggest con. The pros were, it prepares you for the CPA exam. Like I said earlier, I took 2 parts before I even graduated. I took a 3rd part shortly thereafter. And whenever I was there, Roger CPA study review was included as part of your tuition. Which, if you're paying for it on your own, can be really pricey, like $2,000 or $3,000 maybe. But Roger, I felt like helped me a lot to study and to be prepared for the CPA exam. And it was nice to do it whenever all my fellow students were doing it at the same time, so we could study together. Because usually if you're doing it while you're working, you might be the only person there doing it, or other people are going to be taking different parts as you. Dr. Bishop said somebody's coming in to talk about the CPA exam at some point, but there's 4 parts. Some of them are harder than others. but basically the pass rate is like 50%. And it helps get the hours you need, the 150 credit hours, which you can do like an MBA program too, as long as you get the 30 accounting credits. You should be good.
Maybe one of the main things it helped you with was to get a job.
Yeah, and that was because I was going to a bigger school in a bigger city, um, and I knew that I was going to be moving to Pittsburgh. That kind of helped. That I had a plan for the CPA exam. I'd already started the initiative, and I don't know. Yeah, it helped get a job because there were other places there that were looking for accounting students, master's accounting students. There's a career fair there that like some of the big four firms were at. I was telling them earlier that the FBI was there. They were looking for accountants. I mean, it was a good route for me personally because I knew I was going to be moving further north. So it kind of helped in that aspect. So the CPA daily experience. I walk in and I get coffee. That's the first thing I do. And then, I go check my emails. It depends basically if I'm in the office or if I'm at a client. So next week I'll be at a client, which right now I'm doing a lot of bank audits. So it's local, smaller community bank. And we'll just meet at the office, we'll drive there together because it's not too far away. We'll go in, we'll talk to clients, get any documentation they might have at their desk. But most of the time they've dropped a lot of the stuff out there on the internet and the secure portal. So we start with that, and it depends on if it's internal audit or external audit, but if it's external audit, we're just going to start with the balance sheet, work our way down. So we'll start with cash, and we'll look at the work papers that we need to make sure that their cash is stated correctly. I have some example of work papers that I'll show you in a little bit. But if I'm in the office, we go to the client for like a week, and we don't want to bug them too much because essentially we're working for them. We're trying to get their numbers right and help them, but we don't want to be too big of a pain in their neck. And then I personally think that a lot of the stuff that we do can be done remotely, because like I said, they drop the stuff out there on the share file, and we can access it from anywhere as long as we have an internet connection. So if I'm in the office, I'll come in and check my email, make sure everything's good, make sure there's nothing crazy going on. And then I'll just start, like I said, in the binder. The binder is the electronic place where all of our work papers are stored, and go down if there's anything I need to do. On the tax side, it'll be different because they don't do audits, obviously. So they come in and they pick up where they left off the day before, just putting in the numbers, getting all the tax stuff straight in the tax software. I don't really use that very often. My experience with internal audit, I'll talk about that a little bit on the next slide. I said choose your battles. This is just like I was talking about earlier. It's like sometimes you can make a point, you might have done something wrong here, but is it really a big risk? Is it really going to be worth taking the fight if there's something's out $10 or something? We're not going to worry about that. There's like a materiality threshold that we're not going to look at things that aren't really relevant. They're not really material. For the internal audit side, like if they have a control that they're not doing, maybe somebody didn't sign off as a reviewer, but they have every other time. It'll be a management point, but it's not going to be like a huge crazy deal. And for me, I feel like it's always nice to communicate to the client, hey, we have a finding, but it's not a terribly big deal. But really you want to dig down to the bottom of it. Like, why did it happen? Did somebody sick that day and their replacement didn't sign off whenever they should have? Stuff like that. It's kind of interesting, but at the end of the day, there's certain things that are more risky than others. So this is just like what I was talking about. Cut the tennis balls in half. You can fit 2 more balls in there, but they're not worth anything because you can't use them. So it doesn't really matter sometimes whenever, like if if you make a recommendation, I would always make sure that it has meaningful. It's meaningful. It makes sense. So internal audit. This is what I did at Shiner Downs in Pittsburgh. Always we start with the process. Like we have a narrative document, and we run through like how does your cash reconciliation work, or how does this whole like accounts payable process work. And we run through it with the process owners and who prepares reconciliation, who's put off on it, where are the numbers coming from, what are you reconciling to. Then we'll talk about the key controls. This kind of comes from the risk and control matrix. So that's kind of hard to visualize, but like if you have on the left side, you have all the risks, and then going across the top, you have all of the controls. This is an Excel document. We kind of peg where these controls fit the risks. Like what risks are these controls mitigating? And if it's one that has a lot of, like it's mitigating a lot of risk, then that's probably key control. And that's something that we'll definitely test. So segregation of duties is something we always look at a lot, but there's, of course, there's a lot of controls, but that's just one that's like, does everybody know what segregation of duties means? Yeah.
Except for maybe the intermediate one folks.
Yeah, so it's like you can't prepare your own reconciliation and then sign off on it, and then also be the one that handles the cash. Like it's just, it doesn't make sense because obviously you want to be able to separate the three that are, remind me, there's the person who reconciles, the person who reviews, and the person who, the caretaker,
the custody of assets.
Custody of the asset, yeah. So that's a big one. And then the last bullet point doesn't make sense. That's kind of where the tennis balls come in. Small versus large firms. So whenever I was at a large firm, which was Shiner Downs, I only did internal audit. I never branched into tax. I never branched into external audit. Never branched into cybersecurity because that's not what I did. I did internal audit stuff. And with that, I mean, I could do a rotation with external audit, which I did towards the end of my time there. I did one financial statement audit, which was a natural gas producer. But most of the time I was there was in internal audit stuff. And because it was a larger firm, kind of had a national client base, I traveled a lot. Went to Dallas, Texas, like 8 times whenever I was there in more than 3 years. I went to Colorado, I went to Canada, I went to a bunch of places that I probably wouldn't have if I'd never worked at a larger firm. Unless like it's a really specialized firm. Like I think Burnfin and Tucker, they travel a lot. A lot of their travel, because they do, for those of you that don't know, Burnfin and Tucker is a CPA firm in Albany. They do mostly healthcare audits. So they travel a lot to like smaller or towns around Georgia where they have hospitals. But they also travel for like national conventions where they're talking about the accounting principles of healthcare or their tax specific things about healthcare. So that's like, if you're a niche audit firm kind of like that, then yeah, you might travel more. But at a large firm, my experience is that I travel a lot more. At a small firm that I'm currently at, Hutchins Cunningham Duffy, here's a big one. So at the large firm, we had not our own space. You came in every day and sat wherever you wanted to, which sounds, oh, that's kind of interesting. No, it sucks. You come in, and if the office is really full that day, you might not end up with a seat. You might have to sit like on the other side of the office away from everybody else. That's called touchdown stations, or there's some other names for it, I can't remember, but yeah, it was basically like from me to the wall and this far out. We might have 12 people sitting in this little area. Now that's like the size of my office. So that's a big thing that I don't think many people consider, but whenever I was at the large firm, I kind of had the place where I sat every day because I got in early, but not everybody got in early. And with that kind of open concept, it was really distracting too. We were all really close friends, so we talked a lot, and it wasn't always conducive to getting a lot of work done. And whenever you build, basically, you build by your time. So like, what we're selling as CPA firms is our time, right? We keep track of our time by every 15 minutes. And whenever you're there and you're not being as productive, you know, kind of raises questions about why you spend so much time doing something. And then the smaller firm, like I said, I kind of have done some tax returns this year. I've done more nonprofit stuff. I've done more external audit than I did in the previous firm. So it's kind of a more broad thing. I have my own office, which is huge and super nice. We're a smaller team, but we all get along really well. So, does anybody have any questions so far? I feel like I'm just running on and on. So.
Did you like prefer working for a larger firm over a smaller one?
No, I mean I like having my own office. It's really nice. I really like the clients that we deal with right now. Because whenever I was there, I always wanted to do financial statement audit. But whenever I went to Kennesaw, we had an internal audit certificate that we got whenever we graduated. So whenever I moved to Pittsburgh, that was something that they were really interested in. They really focused on, you have this internal audit, you know, specialty almost. Can you do the internal audit? I was like, yeah, of course, it'd be awesome. Because I really needed the job, because I was moving 800 miles away. So then whenever I got there, like I don't personally like internal audit as much as financial statement audit, because we didn't really work with the numbers as much. Like we focused on the controls, which might be sign-offs or something, you know. We had a client in Texas, excuse me, that they like replaced cell phones. So if you had a phone that was refurbished, they were a warehouse, and they also did refurbishing of phones. So we would go follow the phone through the process of getting refurbished. And there were certain things that people had to do along the way, like they had to touch the screen to make sure the screen worked. I was sitting there one day, and really it was at night because we did these overnight. And I was like, why did I go to accounting school for this? You know, like I'm sitting here watching someone touch the phone screen. We could pick up somebody off the street who could like look and make sure you're doing this. So that was kind of my biggest gripe with internal audit, and kind of the reason why I prefer the smaller firm, because I don't just do internal audit. But we were there at night. Y'all might think this is interesting just because that was whenever they did their cycle counts, so like their inventory counts basically. And we had to watch them and make sure that they did it. So we would get to the client at like 1 a.m., which is Central Time, which is like 2 a.m. Georgia time. And we would be there for like 4 hours. So we would fly out there basically for 3 days, and we would only work like 8 hours, but they were all overnight. So that was kind of interesting. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Workday, for example. Can everybody see that? I can't see it here. So like across the top here we have, this is a deposit model example. So it's, we're basically looking, this is for an external audit. We have their deposits. So we have 4 different types of deposits for this bank. They have non-interest demand, which is like your demand would be what you can use your debit card for. Then you have your interest bearing. So some people had a type of account where their checking account would make a little bit of interest. And then savings, everybody knows that time deposits are also called certificates of deposit, CDs. So we get all this information from the GL. So you can see there that we put GL. Can y'all see my cursor? And then down here at the bottom, we say GL means that we trace it to the respective 2019 general ledger. So all those numbers came from the general ledger, and we total them up. So we're seeing how did it compare at the interim, which we were there doing interim testing in September, the end of September. So how did it compare? Did it change? Did it go up? Did it go down? What are our expectations? And so we kind of list all of that down here at the bottom. So we expect a slight decline in their overall deposit portfolio at interim in comparison to the year end. So this is consistent with prior years. So why do we expect that? It's because the large municipal accounts receive their tax deposits at the end of the year. So that makes sense. So, like, those are the kind of things that we're looking for to make sure that what their change, their growth, or their if they shrink a little bit, that it's within our expectations. So that was what we did. This is what we said at interim. So if we start out that we have their year-end expectations. So we anticipate deposit growth in relation to interim and prior year. So if we scroll back up, we can see that we had deposit growth between interim and year-end, but that we had actually, it went down a couple million, 2.4, 2.5 million from last year to this year. So that's something that we're gonna have to explain. Why did it go down? Is there any competition? Did they not renew some of their large accounts? Did some of their CDs not get renewed? But then we kind of explain it because it's consistent with the decline from the previous year. So like it went from 69.5 to 67.6 to 65.2. So we can say this is just how this market is doing. And I redacted this bank statement and everything, but it's a local community bank, and there's pressure on them. I'm sure a lot of us bank with larger banks like Heritage or something like that, which Heritage is, I think, they got bought by Renaissance. So, yeah. So this is kind of what we look for, and we see PY over here, and we have a tick mark for that. So PY is traced to prior year audit work. Does anybody have any questions about this? So I'm gonna prepare this and drop it into the binder.
Okay, so you're doing that, this is after year end.
Right, so this one was done.
Is this toward the end of the audit then?
This would be, because this is deposits, which kind of ties into their cash, which it's a liability account. Because like if you think about it, your money at the bank, they owe you that, so that's a liability for them. So I don't know, it just depends on where we get there. Really, it depends on the order that they give us the information. That's kind of how things go. This would be towards the beginning of the audit. And if you're doing this before you get there, you might build your expectations before you're there, so that you can kind of have something going in, like a mindset that, yeah, they shrank last year from 69.5 to 67.6, so maybe we already know to expect some decline. Did that answer your question? So I would drop this into the binder and sign off on it whenever I was done. And somebody would come back behind me and review my work paper and leave me notes. So here they would talk about, hey, you didn't change these dates. It's like 2017 to 2018. And right here, 2017 to 2018. So I don't even talk about 2019 and this conclusion. They would be like, hey, did you even do this conclusion box? Like, you need to go back and fill it back in. So that would be something that they would ask me. I would have to go back and fix. So here's the teller cash. So this is a reconciliation of the teller cash account. So each drawer, basically, each teller's drawer has their own general ledger account. And these are obviously all grouped together to be like one big account and everything. But we talked about, here we see it's PVC, which is provided by client. We have the scope, it's greater than 1,000. That's our internal audit scope. So this is an internal audit work paper. And we were saying, here's why the work paper was obtained. Here's what we did. We made sure that it was within the policy limits as of December 31st, 2019, per the IC memo, which was internal control memo in the front of file. HCRH notes that they can maintain 15,000, drive-through tellers can maintain 15,000 in their drawers. So like you see that all of your drawers balance is less than 15,000. So I tried to unhighlight the ones for back, the ones that were the ball. recycler, because those are over 10,000 and 15,000. But we know that these would probably be exceptions. Does that make sense? These would have been over their threshold, but hey, it's a drive-through, or hey, it's the head teller. And then the vault, obviously there's more. And then down here we have one that there's no real excuse. Like they shouldn't have been over $10,000. We're going to make a management point. We're going to let the client know, hey, you had something that shouldn't have happened. And the reason for that is because if they get robbed, which, I mean, let's be honest, it doesn't really happen that much. But if they got robbed, insurance would only insure, they only insure up to $10,000. So anything beyond that is something that they just have to eat that loss. All right. Any questions about the work paper? Is that interesting? It's kind of what I do. Yeah. Yeah. So, does anybody have any questions or anything? Any comments? You want to know what more I do? Talk about some of the most exciting things I've ever done.
Yeah.
We had an audit client one time. It was an internal audit client. It was whenever I was at Shiner Downs in Pittsburgh. And they did everything in Excel. Like they had all of their financial statements were in Excel. And we came in and we're like, how do you make sure that people won't change things? How do you know that not anybody can just come in here and do whatever they want because there's really no controls over Excel? And they're like, oh, we save it every day. So if it changed from yesterday or something looks funky, we can go into yesterday and see what happened. I don't know, that was the craziest thing to me. That they would do all of it. So then they get Oracle implemented. And Oracle costs like $1 million to implement. It's very expensive. There's a lot of consultants that come in. They have to map a lot of things, like a lot of accounts and stuff. And then they got sold. So the company that was based in Pittsburgh bought them, put Oracle, gave them Oracle, spent like $1 million, over $1 million, and then sold them for loss because the tariffs. They were still manufacturing, and the tariffs really killed them. So that was kind of interesting that you can kind of see businesses don't always make the best decisions. And that's one thing why accounting is such a good major, because you kind of can speak the language of the business. Accounting is the language of business. So like, if you can talk accounting concepts and you kind of understand the balance sheet and the income statement and stuff like that, you're at an advantage. So it's probably why everybody take accounting classes whenever you're a business major. I put a really cheesy quote on there. There's more to life than money. I think it's true. You can really work yourself to death. Like right now, we're working on Saturdays, which really it's not that bad. Because we come in, you can come in late or come in early and just get your stuff done and then leave. Right now, working from like 8 to 6-ish. So it sounds like a lot, but really it's not that bad. Because in the summer, you're a whole lot more flexible. I can come up here and talk to y'all because I don't have anything to do like right this minute. It's not like it's live or die. I mean, we're flexible, and as long as we get our work done, that's what really matters. And we bill our time, but there's other things that are important, like giving back to the community. So my coworkers, one of them, well, really both of them are on boards of nonprofits. It's a time commitment, but it's something that is important to be part and involved in the community. So
It's important because.
why is it important? I think it's just important because, like, this was my thing whenever I moved to Pittsburgh, right? I moved up there, and the sense of community down here is so much stronger. So I had my own group of friends that were coworkers, basically, but whenever I moved back down here, I mean, the community presence is so much bigger. So, like, this weekend, the creeks in Lee County were all flooding and stuff, so it was cool to go out there and see everybody helping however they can. It's always good to give back and kind of reinvest in the future. Accounting as a profession is not going anywhere anytime soon. And it's just really something that would be a great career. It's part of the reason why I chose accounting is because I knew I was going to have to move eventually, and I thought I was going to end up settling like somewhere random. I really had no idea, and I chose accounting because it's something you can do anywhere. I mean, there's always a need. They're always trying to hire more accountants. And if you're like looking at big four firms, they kind of chew them out so quickly that they're always trying to rehire more. So, to answer your question.
It did, and I think another reason it's important is because then when you are involved in the community, it also attracts business. I mean, you get to know the people, and I mean, there's a philanthropic effect, and then there's also a business effect of getting new business by being involved.
Whenever I was here, I was working at Chandler Shepherd Growing and Associates, and every Thursday they would come to GSW's campus to eat with the Rotary Club, or Kiwanis, I can't remember. It was one of the two. But it's a way for you to meet and interact with other business people, and they raise money and give it back to the community. So in Albany, I'm a part of Sertoma, which is Service to America, and we meet every Thursday for lunch, and we raise money through selling raffle tickets. Right now, or they just did a pheasant shoot, like you go out and shoot or hunt, and they raise this money, and we decide as a group who to give it back to. So like we're reinvesting or we're giving some money to I don't know if it's official yet. I doubt anybody's gonna watch this that would be interested, but like the YMCA is gonna get some money, and like there's a shelter, domestic violence shelter in Albany that's gonna get some money. It's just like things like that are important, but it's also a way for you to interact with people and kind of people that have the same mindset as you. So, does anybody have any questions?
What were some of the, say, expectations of you when you were first hired after your internship?
Yeah, after my internship. So I did an internship here in Americas. But whenever I moved to Pittsburgh, I didn't really do one. But here in Americas, I kind of just stayed. Was an intern, and I did a lot of scanning. I did a lot of paperwork and stuff. And I really had no expectations as an intern. Whenever I moved to Pittsburgh and I started as a staff, it's really about being able to work with others and being able to take criticism. Like like I showed you earlier, that work paper, nobody's mad that you didn't change that box or anything like that. It's just about, getting your work done. So as long as you can manage your time, be able to take criticism, work well with others, I think those are some big things. I mean, I love interacting with people, so it was never really a bother for me, but some of the newer people, whenever I was at China, were so quiet. And it's like, don't ask me this, you have to go talk to the client. Go talk to them, ask them, because they have the answers. I don't have the answers. So don't be scared, but also there's a balance there between always bugging the client or asking for secret. So.
Maybe you just had a pitcher mentality. You're used to getting out there and making mistakes in front of everybody, so it didn't matter, right?
I'm pretty sure. I can call some people and find out. I gave up the longest home run in GSW history. But no, really, it's just about doing what you can and doing the best, and nobody's really going to be upset at you unless you keep bugging, like to see if they get mad. They'll let your manager know, hey, stop it, come talk to me. Any other questions? We still have about 30 minutes to go. So.
Did you feel prepared when you started working professionally? Did you feel like you felt prepared?
And I think that part of that is like the expectations aren't really accounting related. Like you have the knowledge of accounting, especially if you've been studying for the CPA exam, but they're not going to ask you any kind of complex accounting. They're not going to ask you to quote the accounting rules and regulations about stuff. So I did feel prepared, and I was excited to start working. So I moved up there and started working like crap over there. there, so I didn't really have any time to be nervous or anything, so it just kind of worked out. But yeah, I felt prepared.
Even to come down here and do something completely different.
Yeah, that was a little bit more nerve wracking because it's a smaller firm, so they're more relying on you, they're more invested in you because there's not 390 other people that can pick up the slack if you slack off. I mean, they kind of depend on you to do your fair share of work. So yeah, that was a little bit more nerve wracking, but I came down and wanted to do more financial statement audit because I like working with the numbers more. So that was kind of a good fit, and it really worked out well. But yeah, that was kind of nerve-wracking. And I knew I was moving back home, so I was going to stay here forever. So if I made myself look like an idiot, we're in here.
Okay, Chase, we really appreciate it.